Set the curtain, it rises to the stage. Selling from second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known. Would have kept me from when I had
Okay, I'm turning the mics on, Lisa. We got to quit talking about stuff that we don't want people to hear. I'm just teasing y'all. Maybe a little. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn LaVern. This is one street over. Lisa Forte's in the house. And anyway, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm waking up.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Got my coffee.
I'm not there. Anybody who knows, I forgot to show you a picture of my puppy, but yeah, we have a Great Dane puppy in the house. It's like having an infant, 3 a.m. And you don't get him out. I mean, this is a 120-pound puppy. And if you don't get him out, he's going to make a mess. And so at 3 a.m., I'm up trying, and I got to bed late last night because we had an awards thing at school last night. And I'm just, it's right here at the end of school, and I've just got all these things I need to do. I've got assignments due in my education program, and I'm like, And he gets me up at 3, and I'm like, okay, I can go back to sleep. Did not. I should have just gotten up. Why don't we, when our sleep gets interrupted, we know we're not going to go back to sleep, just get something done.
Right.
Do you do that? You just think, I need some more sleep. But
I do. Well, and the interesting thing that has been on repeat lately has been being challenged of going, if I'm getting up, because the Lord knows I love my sleep. I love it. But if I'm waking up at that time, I'm trying to be awake enough to go, hey, is there an assignment we have? Like, is there something
you need me to do? Something
right. It's like, is your dog waking you up going, okay, it's because I need you to pray, and that, like, can I be awake and alert enough to go, okay, Jesus, this is not our normal pattern. So what do you need? What is it?
A good thought.
I know,
okay,
right?
I need to do that from now on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you haven't seen a picture of our dog,
you have to put him online. We need to have him in here one time.
Not in here. Not in here. Not until he is. I would not bring him on carpet until he's so perfectly housebroken. There's no chance of him having an accident. Because when a dog that size has an accident,
well, it's like 10 dogs. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, because I have brick floors, so it's no problem. Wow. But I can't imagine people who have carpet and try to housebreak dogs and stuff.
He is just gorgeous.
And do all that. I got to clean when that happens. And so, ain't he pretty?
He is. Like his coloring on his face.
We just accidentally got him. So I'll prop it right here. If you go to my Facebook page, you can find him. He's on my page. But we broadcast from the WSGI page because I don't know. We're just doing that now. I'm not going to go get into the technical explanation, but we broadcast from the SGI page and then I share it to my page, but you'll need to be on my U-Turn LaVern Vivio page. And if you go down, you'll find Zeke, but he's on there and he's a mess, and he's going to school on Monday. He's going to be the small animal example that they have. The just up the hall from me is where we have all of our farm and agricultural and those kinds of classes, animal science. So they're doing some small animal stuff, and I'm like, I got you one. I said, I want to show him off. He's so cute.
I don't know that he classifies as small animal.
He does. He's not a cow. Right. He's not a cow. He's not. Yeah, he does. He does. He is a domesticated dog. He is a big boy. He is. Oh, he's so funny too. But he is. Oh, he got to quit getting us up in the middle of the night, man.
So does he have lots of energy?
Oh yeah,
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a chocolate lab that is 7-8 years old, and he's finding his little puppy spirit again, and they're just wrestling, and I mean just constant moving furniture wrestling. So
wow,
it's hysterical. And then we have a shepherd who's 12. And he just walks away, shakes his head.
Doesn't want anything to do with it.
Get away from me. But yeah, Zeke kept me up. But anyway, so what's going on in your world?
Oh, just getting ready for our refresh night tonight. It's the first Friday. We are in May already.
I know.
I just can't even.
First Friday refresh.
Yes. I need it.
That's how you refresh.
Yeah.
You know, First Friday refresh.
We need you to make us up a little, yeah.
A little sound.
Yeah, there you go, right?
We'll
You'll
get
sing it.
something going. I can't do it right now, but let me get through all my stuff.
But yeah, that's really trying to, like you said, wrap up a school year. My boys are 15 and 17, so we're finishing freshman and junior year. And
you got a senior.
I have. We had prom last week, and it's just,
I saw your pictures. Quite handsome. Oh my goodness, so fun.
Thank you. I don't know if you say fun yet. I'm not ready. I don't know that we ever are. I have one of my dear friends, like she's a second mama to my boys. Their whole family has, and our kids are the same age. So she has a son and a daughter, and her son's getting ready to turn 18. And so we were just talking about that yesterday. She was like, I cried. I'm crying this week because I'm like, he's 18. And I mean, and in her mind, like that's not. Like he's not moving out 2 minutes later, but it's still that realization of like
an adult.
Right. Like that window, the window
world says he's an adult.
Yeah.
So he is.
And then our relationships with them shift, right? Like it just, I don't know that mama and daddies are ever really ready for, I mean, we are to a certain extent, but then there's that other part that you just still, especially whenever you read the headlines and all the stuff that you just feel like, can we just keep him in this bubble for a little bit longer?
Give it to him.
Yeah, you have to.
You
Yes.
just give it to God, and you just trust and you know that he's got it.
Yeah.
And I could tell you some moments for me, but if I do, I'll make you all weepy, so I'm not going to do it.
Just go right ahead, because I feel like that's where we're going today anyway.
Because I have 4 boys. And you know, we talk a lot about the importance of getting around the table with your family, having meals around the table. We tried to do that. Now, that doesn't mean we were always awesome at it, but we tried really hard to do that as much as we could. And I will never forget that moment when the twins, they were going to different colleges. Okay. So they were parting ways, the twins, and they've never really had the twin relationship that I hope they'd have. I want them to be best friends. Well, they were so different. They had nothing in common.
Oh, wow.
Not even the blood type. They had different hair colors, different eye colors. They were fraternal. They were just brothers born on the same day. And so they did not have that twin thing, which is perfectly fine. But as when they were little, I dressed them alike, and all that. And I finally had a middle school teacher just insist I split them up. Because she goes, you just got to. They're different. And I'm real thankful she did, because they needed that. But one went the athletic route, and one's they're both, all my kids are so stinking smart. You do not want me to start bragging on my kids, because they are something else, man. They're awesome. But one was, college athlete, going to play through college. Another one had full ride academics. So they both had full ride scholarships. But the one that was playing sports had to report a little bit early for football. And so I'll never forget that moment around the table that last time before he headed out. And I knew it would never be the same. And I just cried. And it's so funny now. I'm sure my boys go, yeah, you cried when Jeremiah left, but you didn't cry when the rest of us left. It was because it was the moment.
Right.
It wasn't
him, right.
It
changed the dynamics.
That season.
Yeah.
That season ended.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to start crying now.
I know,
anyway.
Right. And the beauty of it, I mean, like, that's our cycle of life in so many different ways, right?
And when we get to live that out, and we get to let them fly, and we get to watch them, fall in love and get married and have kids, what a blessing.
Right.
So people, I have a prayer list of little ones I'm praying over that have cancer. God, help us, Isn't that what we raise our kids for, is to let them fly?
Yes.
And so, my goodness, yes, it's hard, mamas. I know it's hard when they start flying the nest. All these kids that are about to fly off that are seniors right now. It's so funny because we do the news in my class, and so we're counting down for the seniors. Today they have 6 days left.
Wow.
They're done Friday. And so their last day is next Friday. So counting today, 6 days. And so we're counting down, and some of them go, quit, Miss Vivio, because they're not ready.
Right,
they're like, will you stop it?
Yeah.
And then the others are going, yeah, you know.
Right.
So, and it's just interesting to see that dynamic. Some are super excited, and some are just like, stop it.
Right.
You know,
They're not ready for the change. So I
nervous.
have a challenging question for you this morning
Okay.
that just popped in. So what it's talking about seniors and graduating, and I think about how much I thought I knew everything when I was 18. And I was one of those, like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And really thought that I was going to go, make it big in the world, and move out of mom and dad's house and what I thought was jail. Obviously that I got a rude awakening very quickly. But if you could go back and tell your senior, almost graduating self, what would be, even if there's like your top 3, like what would you tell her? And we're going into the deep end really quick this morning.
Do you know my story at all?
I don't know much of it. I've got like little highlight reels. So,
My senior year. Okay. My senior year, in 1980. I'm from West Kentucky, a little small country town. And my sister was one of the first to embrace interracial marriage in 1978. And I had a biracial nephew. And it was hard.
I bet.
It was, and honestly and truthfully, it was only a handful of really bigoted people, but the rest didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people did nothing. And so my family felt very alone. Whew. I was just ready to get out of there.
You got to see ugly before you had the ability to process all the ugly.
So if I could say anything, I would say get over it. Not in a hostile way, because I stayed bitter for 20 years. And that is poison.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. Get over it. I wish it hadn't taken me 20 years.
Right.
I wish it hadn't taken me 20 years. I really do. And, but it did. And that was the journey God took me on. And there's a reason that it took that long. And maybe just so I can say to other people, don't waste it.
Right.
Because there's an awful lot of people who've been through some tough stuff.
Right.
I just, I get real frustrated with people who don't have compassion for people who've had it difficult. They're like, well, they have this opportunity and they have that. Well, you know what? You really just don't know what kind of walk they've been on. So why don't you just love them?
Right.
Why don't you just be compassionate?
Right.
Why don't you try to empathize from where they're standing?
Right.
I get real frustrated with people who don't have a heart of empathy for others, because you have absolutely no idea what walk they're walking. I don't care if they're living in abject poverty or living in incredible wealth. You have no idea what's going on in their heart and in their spirit. And just this is one thing we talked about yesterday. We had the National Day of Prayer, and I had Aaron Slate come in. He and I have just a background in the same theology. We both grew up in the Church of Christ, went to Lipscomb, but he's a soldier. He's a retired Marine. And I said, as a military person, what would you have the prayer for our country to be? And he says that we love the Lord our God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, and love our neighbor as ourselves. He goes, if we get that right, then everything else is okay.
Absolutely.
And I was like, yeah, that's why you came in here, Aaron. That's it.
Yeah.
But that would be the thing. That would be the thing. And probably, I don't know. That would be it. That would be it. Is just really, and to not turn away from the call that God had on my life ever since I was a little bitty into ministry, to embrace it. And I still think there's so many of that, because I know my husband and I were meant to be together, and I know that path would have happened in some other way if it hadn't happened the way it did. But I think there's some things that, number one, I'm 61 years old, and I'm just now getting on fire for a lot of things ministry driven. And I think, man, if I could have had the hunger for what I'm seeking right now when I was in my teens, and I guess I did, but I couldn't find anything to study to get me the answers.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. There's so many questions I've had my whole life, And I've been asking the question, and I'd go look, and I couldn't find any answers. And I kept looking and kept looking and kept asking and kept asking. And now things are just kind of bursting open. And I lean that into the knowledge doubling curve. Jason Ball is going to be in here in about a month. He's going to be here, I think, June 4th. And if you don't know who that is, he preaches at Centerpoint Church up in Hendersonville.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I've got familiar with his work when he was working with Bobby Davis out at Life Church in Cookeville. He was an associate minister there, and then he came up here to take Centerpoint Church. And I just love him. He's so funny. And he talked in one of his lessons about the knowledge doubling curve. And he said, and I can't remember all the specifics of it, but I refer to it a lot, and I talk to my kids about it, because 100 years ago, or, say, I forget the exact data, but it's, say, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, it took for the knowledge of the planet to double. It took like 100 years because for the information to get all the way around the globe, because of we didn't have any way to share information. Right. Now it happens
instantly
in minutes.
Yes.
And I use as the example, I've got a sweet girl that my kids grew up with. She does cancer research. And I say, if Dr. Katie does some kind of research and finds something really profound and she publishes her work, what if one piece of what she's got is what somebody in China or Japan needed to complete their work, and they can cure cancer? And the knowledge doubling curve has happened in a way that we're seeing it constantly. The big challenge is searching, making sure it's true.
Oh my goodness.
But there's a lot of biblical knowledge that we're learning about the what the original intent of Scripture was, and understanding it from the Hebrew, and understanding it from the what it was written in Greek, and and understanding it from the lens, using the Christy McClellan talks about new lens. Through that lens,
right, of
what it was originally intended, and it changes your perspective completely.
Absolutely.
Your understanding. And what it just changes it to is we have really overcomplicated it in a big way.
Right.
And it is just so beautiful.
It is.
It is just so beautiful.
Well, and I go back to your comment a few minutes ago, and this is how we've somewhat complicated it. And and this was something that goodness sakes, it's been several years, but it was so profound. It's like those little things when the Lord drops it in your heart, it's like, oh gosh. But going back to your love your neighbors as yourself, we don't love ourselves.
Ooh.
We don't, if we want to look at what's going on.
That's really a good point.
That we don't truly love ourselves because we don't truly know who we are in Him. That whole going back to the identity part and what He did for us and who we are at the moment of salvation, and being united with Him and forgiven and chosen and righteous and holy, all of the things that we think aren't coming until we see Him. No, that's a done right here. And when we strive and struggle out of thinking we have to perform to get there, there's so many. I remember the first time that Teresa taught this with us. She got one of those little like transparent films, but it was colored. So whatever it is that my lie is, like that's my filter. So you can tell me all day long that you love me and that you think I'm great, but it's coming through that lens essentially.
Wow, I like
and so
that
I can't hear your truth to me because I'm focused. Like so if one of my lies is like I'm stupid and not good enough, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter if you're my teacher grading my paper and you're giving me 100s. Like I'm still processing through, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm stupid. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many, and going back to even that compassion part, people don't either recognize their own lens that they're filtering thing, or we don't stop to think, because we make that assumption that everybody's had it, at least the same opportunities that I have. And we don't. Like, I think one of the most eye-opening things for me is, as the Lord's been taking me on this journey, is in being in situations, I feel like to a certain extent, there was like a Pollyanna upbringing for me. So as I am encountering women who were in homes that weren't safe, physically, emotionally, whatever, all the things, all the ugly, that experiencing things at 2, 4, 8, 10, 12 years old that my mind can't even begin to wrap around. And so I still think that there's an element, and even probably within the church, when we are ministering one to another, that they're, and this is the other part that we find out too, a lot of times men aren't as open about, they've had those same traumatic events.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just, there's an even greater shame.
Yeah.
I think, going back to,
I should have been able to stop it. That masculine kind of thing. I shouldn't have had to. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So there's so much, I think, when going back to, like, what would I tell my senior self? One of them would be like, don't pick up that shame. When you get to know Jesus, like, take that, the shame part off. Like, the enemy is so very good about keeping us stuck out of the shame, of what we did in the past and our choices. And he loves to bring that back up and try to sling it. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. I don't have to wear that anymore. That is not my identity. It's a piece of my grave clothes, and we got to take those off.
I love that. Right. I love that. I think it's so interesting that you posed that question, because in class right now, we started working on documentaries my first semester there. I bit off way more than I can chew. And it's been just kind of sitting in the side. And I think most of the students figured, well, we'd never finish them. We're finishing them. They're going to be out next week.
Nice.
One of them's silly. It's about Bigfoot. We got a guy here locally that just says Bigfoot's real and all of that. And so we're gonna share our interviews that we had with him, with Mr. Blue. And then we've got this very profound one. One of the classes picked the evolution of drugs. And I'm like, what do we do with that? And so we interviewed recovery court, Judge Joel Perry. We have a teacher, actually one of our vice principals, whose twin brother is serving time in prison.
Oh, wow.
And he was very candid and open about it. So we're sharing that. We talked to Mayor Billy Vogel about some stuff. We talked to Ron Baptiste, who runs the Covenant Confirmers Church that runs rehab programs and things like that. And then we had the recovery court has this thing, we celebrate the ones that have made it through and that they have this new lease on life, but then there's always a remembrance ceremony, which has images of people in the community or, maybe within recovery that didn't make it.
Oh, yes.
That lost their battle. And we'll put candles out. And this is something that Althea Sickle did. And it's just beautiful. And it's just really touching. Well, we went to recovery court I wanted the kids to see this. And the speaker just went way too long. And we ended up having to leave in the middle of it. It was so embarrassing. It just makes my heart just kind of, horrifying, because I had to get them back for the bus. I mean, I just didn't have any choice. But because of that, we got the idea to have a remembrance ceremony at our school. Wow. I can't begin to tell you, because I went around and I just said, do you know anybody that has lost the battle of addiction? And so all the images we used were people that somebody sitting in that auditorium knew. Mm-hmm. Now, I guarantee you there were many more we could have put up there, but these were ones that were brave enough to say, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we had one student, it was his mom, and that was a hard day for him. I was just like, wow, you just have no idea how profound that was. And we had teachers that were siblings. I had a couple of kids that I knew, a couple of friends of mine, children, and there was all kinds of people that we had on the screen. And one of our counselors, her brother, and so different was we did our own remembrance ceremony, and we shared it, and that's part of the documentary. And at the very end, Althea, the girl who is she works with recovery court, and she kind of unpacked it and then she comes up, she goes, I got something I want to say at the end, and she says, she asked people, what would you say to your younger self? She asked that same question. And so that's just so interesting to me. That's where you started today. I just love how God just weaves things together, because sometimes I look at this piece and I go, okay, are we putting this together properly? Is this going to be what it needs to be? And that's just kind of a reaffirming, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because that was the same question she asked at the end of it. And I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Right.
And I was just messing with that. We were just messing with those edits yesterday. And I'm like, that's really interesting. I just love how God weaves things together.
It does. All the details.
Yeah,
right?
and Lisa and I, we were messaging each other. Well, what are we going to talk about? Or actually, I think I called you early this morning to make sure you knew today was your day. And she's like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I knew we wouldn't have any problem coming up with something. So I'll tell you what, let's reset. Let's pause for a minute. Talking with Lisa Forte. She is with Redeem Her Now. Tonight is the First Friday Refresh.
Yes.
First Friday Refresh. And well, let me do my ad. Let me do my ad before I get distracted again. Tomorrow, you can go to the old Highland Rim Speedway, you guys. We're talking Veterans Motorplex, and you can go watch racing. We've been trying to get the racing season going ever since March, because racing season in Robertson County is March to October. They've been making improvements on the track, and they are just ready to get going. They tried really hard to get it going last week, and they just had some things that got in the way. But they're saying, okay, we're going to hit it this week. It's time to race, and so come on out. They're going to have a race this weekend at the old Highland Rim Speedway. Again, this is Veterans Motorplex. There's a $40 ticket. They'll get up to 8 people in. That's 6 kids and 2 adults for one $40 ticket price. It is going to be a good time. They've made a ton of improvements out there. And Jerry says, sorry for the delay in getting started for the season, but he says you're going to like what they've done with the place. This is a fast quarter-mile, high-banked asphalt bull ring, fun for the whole family. Now follow them at Highland Rim Speedway, so you know everything that's going on to make sure, because sometimes rain cancellations and things, and I know we've got some rain coming in, so we're being positive. It's going to happen. We're going to race this weekend, and we're going to get it going. Rain can change that, but we're going to try our best to make sure we can get on the track and run a race this weekend, and we hope you'll be a part of it. Don't forget, too, that they've got a great concession stand, great opportunity for you to come out and just have dinner. Don't worry about any alcohol or anything, because they do not serve it. They don't allow it on the premises. So this is a family fun atmosphere. That's very unusual for a racetrack to have that kind of a rule, but that is makes it just unique for your entire family. 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. Come on out, have a family fun night at the races. Veteran Motorplex, the old Highland Rim Speedway. Get on out there this weekend as we get going with racing season. Tell them you turned sent you. All right, Lisa, what are y'all doing tonight at Redeem Her Now? Invite everybody out. We did, it's so funny because you come in here on First Friday, and then I forget on the last Wednesday to tell everybody at Celebrate Recovery at Madison that it's coming up. I forget, to remind them. So I was in class in Murfreesboro, but I called my friend Muriel. She was running things Wednesday night, and I said, tell them about this, because it's in our neighborhood. There's several women that come to Celebrate Recovery that are just probably not 5 minutes from there.
Nice.
And I know it would bless them. Yeah. I know it would bless them. And so I said, be sure and tell this one. And so she unpacked it for them and told them what was going on. So maybe you'll see some people there tonight.
Well, hopefully they're listening this morning. We want you to come. Yes, we would love for you to come join us. It will be a good evening.
So what's happening tonight? What's the schedule?
So doors open at 6. We'll have some light refreshments and fellowship. Worship starts at 7. I will be the one who's speaking tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, I was arguing with him for a little bit about that, but figure that time takes less and less time to say yes. So yeah, I think that there's a good heavy word coming tonight, and and when I say heavy, not in a condemning way, but in that challenging, like, we got to get out of the shallow end of the pool and go a little deeper with him.
I love
it. We got to get out of the kitchen. We got to quit being Martha and running around like chickens with our heads cut off and sit with him and just.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to me. It always starts here first. So it's just like,
I'm just teasing you.
It's like, goodness sakes. So that's why I think the emotions are going to be coming already, because I know like 90% of what I'm saying, 99.999% of what is going to be spoken tonight is stuff that it's me.
It's just on your heart.
It's just me. It's like, we're starting here, girls. It's just me. But it's the transparency, right? I was at a women's conference last weekend, and I loved the way that this one of the pastors put it. It's like, we're princesses, and she was like, but I want you to think of Cinderella and the glass slipper. Mm-hmm. Are you that transparent? Or are you putting something on to cover? Are you really transparent in front of your sisters? Because we like to put that game face on.
Yeah. See, and if you're not transparent, then they think they're the only one going through stuff.
Right.
And I talk a lot about Celebrate Recovery, and that's the reason why I love it so much is because we're real. We're and that's what when you come together in these things. I don't know, it's so hard to be real a lot of the times in our organized worships on Sunday,
Right?
Because we've got them so structured, and that's fine. But it's one of those things. It's very hard to break down those walls,
Right.
And it's in these little independent things that we do, I think, where you just get real with each other.
Yes.
And if we'll get real with each other in these moments, then we'll start getting a little bit maybe more real in our corporate worship.
Right.
But I love what you've got up on your banner. Let's clean out your drawers.
Well, so I had to tell you, I had no idea. This is what's crazy. And well, going back to what you were saying, that's the beautiful thing I think about us being smaller as well. As last month, we didn't feel like we were supposed to transition out of that worship time. Nope, it's not time to move yet. And what the Lord did wasn't even like we didn't even have an official altar call moment, but what the Lord did in and through the women, just having that longer time of lingering, and the ministry that took place as the body, not just one person that's staying there. It was incredible. It was beautiful. And it's like, when he was like, okay, we can
move on.
We can move on. And it was interesting because, I love it. Jenny, she was in front with me. And so she was my one that was going to be helping transition because we were doing Q&A last month. And she was like, and I said, we can't go yet. I said, there's something else he's wanting to do. And so we're waiting. And, but when we got the green light, after everything was done, Jenny was like, I felt everything shift. Like I knew, she said, I've experienced that personally before when me and my husband have prayed. She goes, I've never felt that like corporately in there. She's like, and so she was giddy. She's like, I felt the whole room shifted. Like it was so cool. So just, it's one of those, again, when we get bold enough to get out of our box and get out of his way of how we think he needs to do things, it's absolutely, and I mean, like, you don't want to leave that, right? Like you finally get what it means to be Mary and at his feet, because you're like, okay, we can be quiet. You can just do this. This is fine. But yes, the clean out your drawers, that was, something that he put on my heart several weeks ago, and I was like, well, it's spring cleaning time. Okay, well, we'll unpack. So I'm bringing some plastic drawers for my visual aids, because he has some things we have in our drawers to clean out. But it was brought to my attention, of course, and I think you've probably studied this a little bit deeper, so feel free. We're in the season of Passover, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the ladies brought to my attention, she was like, well, we're in the feast of the unleavened bread. And so as I started to research that, she was like, so if you've been nesting or, that whole, and I'm like, oh, of course you gave me clean out your drawers because of the principle. And when I started to research that, and making it real to today, it was that they're supposed to clean their home, and feel free to jump in and correct.
Get rid of the yeast.
Get rid of the yeast.
All out.
Right. Get it all out.
Get it out.
But in all reality, when we think about that, like if we were to try to do that in our own homes, it's impossible, right? Like you don't know if the Cheerios shoved down in the crack of your couch cushions or
Where is it?
Where is it? Right. But it signifies how like we can't, but his blood covers everything. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like again, going back to the confirmations of just his little whispers. I'm like, oh, okay. So
that's hysterical. When you said cleaning out to tie that in to getting rid of the yeast and cleaning out your house, that's hysterical. Because
we're in that time.
Dead on. That's so funny.
So that makes it a little more weighty for me. I'm
sure.
like, what are we doing?
I guess I get your point, Lord. Thank you.
Well, so this is the way my mind goes too, though, when he gave me clean out. It's like, I know. Well, and because, again, it's the way I'm wired. So I have my clean out your drawers and in your bedroom, but also that the other one of like clean out your drawers because you just messed them. Like you need to clean out your drawers. Come on, let's go. Yeah. So it's like, oh Jesus, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I love it. That's so good. But that's what you've got tonight, guys. And you come in and tell me what time, because you have a 7:00 start time, but you have.
So the doors open at 6 because we have coffee and water and just refreshments, hang
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
fellowship. And because of traffic and location, sometimes people don't have enough time to
it takes
run
a
home
minute.
and then come back. So it's just like, you know what? You can come land, hang out, sit.
Well, and so I was looking for the address. Here's what I'm sure. It's We Are Church, and it's located, right? And that's the name of it.
Yes. I think
I've got it right here. It is
1501
yeah.
Hadley.
It is, it's Old Hickory, Tennessee. Come on. I thought it was right there. But this is at the We Are Church, and that is where they're going to be tonight. And if you get in there, again, you've got some light refreshments. You can come straight from work if you need to. But then, so do you have it's like a praise and worship time that starts about 7, and then you
Yes.
go into, how long does it, I mean, it sounds like you go as long as you need to.
Right. Yes.
You know?
Typically we're landing the plane around 9:00.
I gotcha.
But yes, if we need to go, and the thing that we've always tried to do is giving people permission, having a soft dismissal. If there's people that still need and want to linger and need more time of ministry, that's available. But we totally understand. Like, so if you're needing to leave and go put the mom hat back on, or go get some sleep, or you know whatever that entails. And absolutely,
Find the We Are Church address.
I think it's 1501. I think.
Yeah, I had it. I've got the little banner pulled up, but it just says We Are Church Old Hickory, and it just puts it in you, Mr. Google, and he'll get you there. But again, I just think it sounds wonderful. A time to refresh and just recenter. Just going to be a beautiful night, and I know you're going to do an absolute fabulous job.
Thanks.
Speaking tonight. So just encourage you to come out and be a part of that. And I hope some of my Madison girls will make it out there, because they're up the street from you. So I
hope so, too.
I think it'll be a really, really good place for them to land. And guys, we appreciate you guys being with us. This is, again, 1100 WSGI. This is our Faith Friday segment. If you've got any questions for Lisa or myself, you can throw them up in comments. But we're going to continue on with our things that we're talking about, and pretty much whatever comes to our mind. That's what's going to happen. But we do need to pause and go ahead and take one of our breaks. And we are going to, Cumberland Connect. Have you got Cumberland Connect yet? What's the status?
Not yet.
Because we're getting close.
We are getting close. We are getting close. We're evaluating all of our options because we're in the middle of the
I got you.
re-upping and do we move
We're
and all the
looking at
things.
it.
We're looking at it.
I think you're going to be thrilled with the options that Cumberland Connect has. I'm looking at right now. We really want to have internet access in our outbuildings, because my barn, we just got a lot going on out in the barn. I mean, I'm turning it into some photo spaces and things like that. Don't talk to me about doing pictures right now. I'm too busy. I'll do them later. But I'm working toward that. Hopefully over the next year or so, I'm going to have some really cool things happening for photography out there, and the barn's part of that. So I need connectivity out there. Yeah. So I had them come out, and they called it a site evaluation. Didn't even charge me, because we were going to have them put a extender up in the top window of our house, kind of pointing toward the barns. And they said, you can just put a conduit in here and throw a line, and we'll hardwire you to the barn, and you'll have the same coverage out there that you have in your house. And it's the same price as what it would be with an extender in my window in my house. And I'm like, what? So, I mean, they're just good. They're just awesome. And that kind of advice, great customer service. It's facilitated through the electric company. I was so surprised when you told me that y'all were going to get, you had an option for Cumberland Connect, because you're in Sumner County. Mm-hmm. But I forget that Cumberland Electric's not just in Robertson County. So if you're a Cumberland Electric customer, you are eventually going to have the choice of Cumberland Connect. And you're going to find it is awesome. $80 will get you a gig. That's all the internet you're ever going to need, y'all. And you don't have to have a gig. If you're somebody that's struggling financially and you're like, man, $80 is a lot of money. Well, you can apply for the Affordable Connectivity Program. And if you qualify, you could get up to $30 per month to help pay for broadband services. Guess what? They got packages starting at just $30 per month. You can connect with them at cumberlandconnect.org, or you can give them a call and talk to those wonderful service people I mentioned. 800-987-2362, 800-987-2362. Put in your address, and they'll tell you if they're about to come knocking on your door and exactly when you can expect them, and you are going to love them. Cumberland Connect. CumberlandConnect.org. When you get in touch with them, please always let them know that U-Turn sent you. All right, Miss Lisa, what else you want to talk about this morning? We'll invite them to the event again, but do you have anything else on your mind?
Yeah, I had another question that kind of we'll go back and hit a sensitive
gonna make me
spot.
cry again?
I don't know. I'm not trying to make you cry, but I think this is it's
okay,
you said
it's
it,
okay.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I do have a T-shirt that has the saying of no crying in baseball. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I should have worn that this morning. Because I think it's so, as just processing what we've been talking about, I think it's so important, and I think it's something that sometimes we don't realize. So I guess it's really a twofold. Well, the first part of the question is, when did you recognize like the depth of bitterness? Because I know like we pick up offense, right? And I mean like we have opportunities every day, all day long to get offended, right? And sometimes like we don't know that we're holding on to that. And that in holding on to those offenses, then they get the roots, and then that's when things get ugly. But like you said, bitterness doesn't do anything to anybody else, but it does destroy us. And the reason why I'm asking, it's like, girl, I have been there, done that. And when I was free from it, I had no idea. I had no idea. But I also didn't know that I was entangled in it as deep as what I was. So how'd you have that? Oh, wait.
Several different places. And see, and that's the thing. It's one of those things that when that poison gets in you, it's not just a one and done.
Right.
That's why, honestly, that's why things like Celebrate Recovery are so important, because as I started unpacking the original part of it, the original bitterness, because I'm one of these people. I had Julie Bernard in here yesterday from Bernard Farms, Bernard's Custom Cuts, and I forget exactly the name. They're up in Orlando, and they're just amazing farm family, and I love them so much. But listening to them and how they're farming and doing what they're doing, that was my dream as a kid. Is to, I mean, I wanted to travel and do some things, but I still wanted. My heart was in West Kentucky on that farm. That's where I wanted to be a part of that. And it completely destroyed it for me. I didn't want any part. I just wanted to, and not the farm itself. I'm so proud of my brother who has taken up the mantle, and he is farming, and just so proud of him and his precious bride and what they do, their boys. But it just poisoned me for that. And so I just wanted to be away from it all. And so when I got to a place of peace and forgiveness there, okay, and I got beyond that, then I had some things that I was holding on for myself that was, because of the bitterness and the things and all this kind of stuff, I just went on a very big journey in the darkness, and I did some things I was ashamed of and embarrassed from and bitter towards myself and all of that. So unpacking all of that, it's a journey. It's still a journey.
Right.
I deal constantly with bitterness in regards to some of the things I deal with in corporate church.
Oh gosh.
You're sitting there with that T-shirt on. It was the women he came to. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm telling you guys, you don't want me. I've got so much that I need to unpack, and I don't. There's no maybe to it. I know clearly that a piece of my journey is helping to share the message of, guys, we're all equal in Christ Jesus.
Yes.
And that's just all it is to it.
Yes.
We're all equal in Christ Jesus.
Yes.
Stop telling me as a woman that there are limits on what I can do in the body. You are wrong. And I'm just, and if you think I'm wrong, let's sit down and talk about it.
Right.
That's the thing. I've put that challenge out there to many people. I was like, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm studying. Explain to me how this is not accurate. And I don't mean, I get kind of a little hostility in me, and I don't mean to. I love you. And everybody's like, well, you're in a body of believers that will not allow you to do this. You can't serve as an elder. You can't be a deacon. You can't, and not that I feel those calls on my life, but I do feel a pulpit call.
Yeah.
Big.
Yes.
Very big. I think I need to be teaching. I don't think it's not I want to teach. I'm supposed to be teaching. And so I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what he's doing with that. I've always been drawn to praise and worship. I'm part of the Epiphany Baptist Church CR praise and worship band. God bless them for letting me come play in the sandbox. Aww. Scared to death to do it, but those guys, they let me come in there and work through my insecurities and just kind of figure that out. And so whenever I get the opportunity to do those things and I think, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this, then there's a bitter seed that comes in. It's like, why wouldn't they let me do it back then?
Right.
It just continues. So it's
So you have to come next month. You have to come next, and the reason being, so this is what's crazy. You have to pencil this in,
okay.
And the reason being, so girl, it's like you're preaching to the choir, and I get it, and what I love, it's like Carlotta bought me this shirt, and it's just. It
says
it wasn't the water he came for. It was me. It was me.
It wasn't the water he came for. I thought it said it was the women he came to. See, I was okay. It wasn't the water he came for. It was me. I thought that it said, because the way the mic was, I thought it was the women he came to. Is what I thought it said.
Yeah.
Okay, so I completely missed it.
It's good.
Honestly, it was the women he came to.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he revealed himself to the women
and he
first.
did, and that's the beautiful.
Anyway.
Like that's been like one of our. Just as he's downloaded that the last couple of years, it's like it is the woman at the well. One for that, and one encounter with him for anybody changes everything.
Right.
But that we did a whole breakdown of like she saw him, so it was like she sees, she hears him speak, she knows, and then she goes.
Yeah.
And so she goes back, and she goes back and she evangelizes her village. She's the first one that's going, you've got to come see this man.
You need to watch that in Chosen.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Right.
It's so good. They do such a good job.
The beautiful thing is, and I love, because it's our story that we've been telling this morning too. I mean, she goes at not the time everybody else goes, because there's that garment of shame.
Yeah.
There's shame. And then it's like, well, what are you doing talking to me? And then so it's like, I'm entering, and we come to him like that. Even after we have been born again, we come to that still trying to wear that icky garment of shame, and our heads are down, and he's like, he reads her mail, like, girl, I know it all, and he still speaks to her and offers her the gift of life. And in that revelation, and that's the other beautiful thing, like her eyes were open to who he was, and it was in the gift of that revelation of him to her that it's just like, oh my gosh. And you can't, and going back to like, when you get that, you can't suppress it. When you know that there's things that he's calling you to do, and that his message, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be telling his message. And it's like the other one's what we're supposed to be, laying hands on the sick, raising the dead. What is it? What, all the things and freedom. Yes. Like our, and this is one of the things too that blows my mind that we'll have to put on the table for next time, but is he gave the disciples that ability before he ever went to the cross. He
said, you'll be doing more than me.
So if they were doing all of that before Jesus ever went to the cross, it's like, Jesus, like, okay. But so the reason for next month, as I was going, okay, it was supposed to be Rachel, but then Rachel's had an opportunity to take a much needed time out and vacation. And she was like, oh my gosh, we scheduled it. And then I'm like, nope, then that just means the Lord wants to shift things, and that's not your day to speak. It'll be a different day. But he keeps bringing Pastor David back to mind, who is the pastor of We Are Church. And I'm like, Jesus, I'm like, we haven't had a man speak. Like, what are we doing here? And honestly, the only thing that he shared with me was that because of his support and his open arms to letting us be in his church, I'm like, I have stories for days about that. It was just a little pack. That's good, but no thanks. So there hasn't been an embracing of even like what we're doing, but he has been very much so, and I'm thankful for that. And so whenever and what I told the Lord was, after he was showing me, he was like, there needs to be that commissioning and that release, because there's women who aren't doing what they're called to do because man has gotten in the way. So that whole, like, as he's speaking from the throne room for our Father, but what is he commissioning? Because he holds the role as son, as pastor, as, husband, brother, all of the things that could have spoken or said things differently over us. And so I'm going, okay, Jesus, I don't know what you're going to have him say, and I don't know what he's going to think. So you're going to have to prepare the way for this conversation. And he and I talked the other day. I'm like, I have a weird question for you. And I just told the Lord that he was just going to have to make the way. So I laid it. So I asked him, like, would you be willing to speak next month? And he was like, well, what do you want me to speak on? I said, whatever the Holy Spirit tells you. I said, but this is kind of the underlying reason is that there needs to be a commissioning of my sisters. I can stand up here with the microphone all day long and encourage and be like, go girls. I said, but there's something that needs to be released. Yeah. And I feel like, and he said, he goes, and he just laughed and he said, he goes, I will say yes. He goes, the part that you don't know, he said, part of my mantle and my calling, he said, is empowering women. He said, if you look on my staff, he goes, I have a lot of women on staff. He said, this is part of what he's having me do as part of my role. And he was like, yes, so he's like, so yes, Jesus did go before you. So I think, I would love for you to come be a part and come listen, but there's a way to walk in it. Like you said, to not have, like, cause it's a burr in my saddle.
Yeah, it is mine too.
Right.
And I have to really watch myself. And I people who pray for me, they pray for me to get the bitterness out of my soul.
Right.
Because I struggle.
But I think that there's a difference too. But and it goes, okay, he's wired us a certain way, right, and personality. But also, like, going, God, is this a bitterness, or is that, like, help me to discern, is this your righteous anger because your daughter's mouths have been muzzled versus the bitterness? Like, there is a right way to do it in him. But I mean, like, Jesus turned over tables. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, so I think some of the irritation is okay, but it's still, like you said, walking in love towards everybody. Right. But the religious spirit that is blinding, we're warring against principalities, not against flesh and blood. And the religious spirit, it's done. Mm-hmm. And so there's an army of women that the Lord is releasing, and it's time. It's time for us to stand up and walk in the fullness of what he's called us to do.
Amen.
And Jesus will take care of the rest.
Amen. Amen. So. Amen. And I just, you've definitely gotten my attention for sure. And I just continue. I know at Madison, a lot of people are like, where you been? I haven't been there much on Sundays these days. And only because I've spent some Sundays in Kentucky, trying to get my parents' farmhouse ready for some new occupants. And Arendina and Martine, we can't wait for y'all to move in. But because my brother's farming, and my sister's gone. She passed away, 3 years before my mama. So, my brother and my sister-in-law, they've been doing it all, and they're boys. And so this is for me to oversee. Right. And so I've just got to get that done. So that's where I am a lot right now. Everybody thinks, well, she's not coming because she's mad. No, Madison's my family. I mean, they will always be my family. We're not in complete agreement, but that's my people. Right. And as long as I'm there, I'm going to be obedient to Christ. And we've placed elders in charge of us, and I'm going to be obedient to that. I don't have to agree with it, but what I do constantly fight is some of the people that just don't really want to listen to anything other than what what we've got in the box is like. Here's what the CFC theology is. Let's not get outside of that. People will turn over in their grave if they could hear you, LaVern. And it's like they might be cheering me on from the cloud of witnesses, going, "Go, girl! We didn't see that." Yeah. That's what I think. Absolutely. I think that cloud of witnesses that everybody's so concerned about that's going to be turning over in their grave is going, praise God. Right. Man, I wish I had seen that while I was there. Right. It's that knowledge doubling curve, guys. And man, as we become more aware of what truth is, we got to share it, and we got to be ready for a new understanding and it's gonna change some things, but it's gonna take it back to what God intended for. He just wants us to help him. He just, man, come help me repair this thing.
Yes.
This this is what I had for you. And in your free will, it got messed up, but let's put it back together.
Yes.
That's all he's asking.
Well, and
that's all he's asking.
The reality of the beauty of how he's designed things, but the reality is, and it goes for men as well. Like, there are places that I can't get into, or I can't go, or I wouldn't have influence in because I am female.
Of course.
And our male counterparts knock it out of the park. Same thing is that there are places, and I'm not saying that we have to keep them separate because it can be together, but there are even additional places that, I'm sorry, what they say and their influence isn't there. But we all have kingdom territory that we've been assigned,
you bet,
and to rule and reign in, and we have that sphere of influence. We have a village, and so how we're reaching those places, I mean, yes, pulpit works, doesn't mean you have to have a microphone. Like, everybody has, like, but going and empowering our sisters to have a voice regardless of where, absolutely. But yes, when you feel a call to that,
you can't ignore it. I've told a lot of people in leadership, I said, I'm less concerned about what you think about where I'm at spiritually, and I am 100% concerned about what he thinks of me.
Yes.
And I'm not going to stand before the throne and go, well, they wouldn't let me.
Yes.
I'm and in love, I'm just going to try to step into any call that he has on my life.
Right.
Period. And I'm just going to be prayerful about it constantly, and I am. But and just see where it takes me. But,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, we can't. There's not an excuse. I can't say that. Like,
no. Stop making excuses. There's no. We're all equal in Jesus, and He's got things for every one of us to do. What's your purpose?
Right.
If you haven't found it yet, be praying on it. Get on your knees to find out what it is, and find a body of believers that you can be a part of.
Yes.
And it put this way. I started to say it. What did I do? I hit buttons that made things move. I don't know what I just did, but I started to say it may not be perfect, but I got news for you. It won't be.
Right.
It will not be perfect.
And it's going to be messy.
It's going to be real messy, but you've got to find the place where you can grow close to Him, period, and that you can help others grow closer to Him.
Yes.
And I got to do a break. Dr. Brown's coming in, Dr. Dale Brown, the Wild Doc's coming in, my chiropractor. He'll be like, well, you never come see me, so am I really your chiropractor? Yes, I'm just really busy, Doc. I told him, I said, you're going to see me more in 2024. And he's like, well, I don't think I have yet, LaVern. My husband gets up there all the time, but... anyway, he is so awesome. He is just awesome. If you've never met Dr. Brown, I think he's speaking at the Republican thing in the morning. They'll unpack that for you. But let me do my break for Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, and we cannot do their commercial without talking about the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival that's coming up on the 17th and 18th of May. I will be there. I hope you will be as well. They are founding sponsors of the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. It's going to be an awesome 2-day event, or Friday evening, all day Saturday. You're going to want to be there. Barry and Rebecca will be there. They'll have a big table set up where you can come sit across the table from them and ask them all your real estate questions, whether you're buying, selling. If you want to be a realtor, they can help you with that. They are still part of the Exit Tree. They changed the name, but they just put a new branch in the Exit Realty Tree. Exit Prime Realty, they took the brokerage office that Barry has here in town on the square, and they took that agency office that Rebecca has out in White House, and they combined the two for Exit Prime Realty, a new branch in the Exit Tree. And they want to hear from you if you have any questions about real estate. They specialize in Robertson County because they've been cross-Plainians for nearly 30 years, but they're from Kentucky. So they specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line. In Kentucky, they're everything you need in the real estate game. You can give Rebecca a call, 615-504-7425, 7425, or just look them up, Mr. Google, Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty, and you'll find out all you need to know. And when you connect with them, let them know U-Turn sent you. And yes, it's time for the music to play and time for me to make my way out. And Lisa, any parting thoughts? Invite them again. Tell them all about it. Invite them again. Let's do that. Let's pause the
Right.
music.
Our
Invite 'em again.
ladies for tonight, Refresh begins at 7 p.m. If you want to come a little early, doors open at 6. We'll have light refreshments. We will be at We Are Church, 1501 Hadley Avenue in Old Hickory. We would love to have you join us.
Be there, refresh. It's refresh for the first Friday refresh. You want to be a part of that? Sounds absolutely wonderful, and I hope you guys will check it out, and we'll look forward to talking to you next month for sure. Thank you guys again. Oh my goodness, bringing in the bluegrass shirts. We got it. This is a new color. I've not seen
pretty.
the rusty color. That's going to be fun. Lee Marie's coming in with a special edition of The Go Show because it's First Friday, and that means Wild Doc's on the way. He'll be here. Oh, is he here?
He's here.
All right. Come on in here. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a fabulous day.